So as I've teased the past couple of days, Rob Adams joined us on, I believe, Sunday to recap. Well, I'm not sure if we got it on Sunday or Monday, but we recapped the New York Knicks sweep with the 76ers. Got a little feel for how New York was feeling, how he thought about the Knicks, and kind of felt out what the Knicks might look like against the Pistons or Cavs and what their chances look like. We did that with Anderson Dell as well. You can go back and watch either of those two videos if you have any thoughts or any desires to understand how New York is feeling after the Knicks swept the 76ers. We did a lot of New York-centric media discussion with Andrew. I kind of parsed it out on my discussion of the Knicks on both videos and how New York is feeling. Go back and listen to that, watch that if you want. Get some insight into what New York fans are thinking, what the media is saying. But yeah, Rob Adams did leave us some thoughts on baseball as well. So we're talking New York. We got a little feel for the Mets and the Yankees. And this is just a little bit of a tease, again, we're teasing everything, but yeah, we have to do it. It's a little bit of an insight into that, but I'm trying to put this in here to bridge the discussion between basketball and hockey, which is occurring right now, which I'll be doing for the next couple of weeks, a month or so. And then we're moving into baseball season, which we'll be doing live broadcasts with guests again. And again, I want to get the show podcast out today. Unfortunately, this week has been a little rough. I will have that out by this weekend. I've kind of decided to wait a little bit just because I would like to try and get them back on Saturdays. Over the course of baseball season, they'll be more haphazard and more kind of free-flowing just because we'll have to make time for when the guests can do it. I want to do them live so we get insight into current situations in baseball. You'll be able to view them on the website, on YouTube, both on the website which is at withsportsrob.studio, and on the website and on YouTube, where you'll find them in the live stream section. But I will tease them or post them on social media so you can see them the next day. It'll be a little bit outdated. Maybe we'll get to something at 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon, maybe 6, 7. Probably won't be doing things after the late games. Which counteracts what I said about the late games, but it's true. I don't think most people want to be up at 1 o'clock in the morning discussing baseball for an hour. But yeah, beginning of whatever, we get half an hour to an hour. We'll get those out starting in June, most likely. And but just wanted to get Rob's thoughts on the Yankees and the Mets. So Rob, what's happening in baseball?
In baseball, you've got really the best of times and the worst of times. The Yankees are playing good baseball, but they're having some trouble closing out games, being swept in Milwaukee over this weekend. Not a good look for New York. Spencer Jones, the highly touted rookie, got his first major league hit. It was an RBI single, which is a good thing, but he is striking out a lot, and that is a concern, but a concern that everyone knew was going to happen with Spencer Jones. But Aaron Judge is cranking out home runs. Yankees are 26-15, so they are playing well. However, their stranglehold on the American League East has kind of fallen down a little bit. Tampa Bay is playing exceptional baseball. They are now a game up on the Yankees in the American League East at 26-13. New York, as I said, at 26-15. So maybe that's your battle for the AL East throughout the balance of the season. I don't put the Blue Jays or Orioles to bed just yet, and who knows what the Boston Red Sox are other than right now a train wreck. On the other side of New York, you've got the Mets, sitting dead last in the National League East at 15-25, 12.5 games behind the Atlanta Braves, who are rolling at this point at .683 baseball. They've won 2 in a row, have Atlanta, and the Phillies 9 out, but starting to kind of come together a little bit under interim manager Donald Arthur Mattingly. Great to see Donnie baseball. Phillies are 7-3 in their last 10. But regarding the Mets, I just can't see this team being a 10 under 500 team all season. I suppose it's possible. They have played some terrible baseball, but you feel like when it comes to the Mets, they're going to play just well enough to tease their fan base before falling apart, and I could see that happen with the New York Mets throughout the balance of this 2026 season. Thanks for asking me to drop in a couple of thoughts. Might have been longer than you wanted, but I tried to give you something here. This is Rob Adams.
Thanks, Rob. Yeah, much appreciated. Hey, man, you can go on as long as you want about the Mets and the Yankees, especially the Yankees. I know you're a huge fan. Appreciate your insight into both teams, and I appreciate your insight into New York media and how they're feeling and how the fans and everyone is feeling in the New York area. It's fascinating to hear. We all know I think if you're kind of in the fandom of baseball, or you have any kind of interest in baseball whatsoever, wherever you are in the country, I think you've got some idea about the Mets. I don't know if it's optimism, but maybe you feel like they'll at least provide false optimism for the fans. I think that would be fantastic. If we could be alive and doing something in July, or coming back in July and heading into August, I would be ecstatic. I don't think it's going to happen. But appreciate your thoughts on the Mets. They obviously have another youth movement with Carson Bench and AJ Ewing being called up a couple days ago. Who knows? Looks like the Mets are rolling around these rookies every 2 or 3 years. Hasn't succeeded. Beatty, Vientos had his moments. Alvarez had his moments. Just hasn't been successful. And that's been true since the days of Lastings Milledge, the next big thing in baseball. Panned out he never panned out, but barely was a Met. He was awful. He didn't have a career. Just seems like that's what happens with the Mets since Strawberry, Gooden, and the likes. Wright, I guess, was the last. Alonso obviously was successful. He's got the home run record for the Mets, but he lasted over the course of the contract, and he's gone. Stearns, that's the question for Mets fans. Do we stick with him? That's Cohen's thoughts. That's Cohen's desires. But I think Mets fans are kind of clamoring for the firing of David Stearns. We'll see. I was a Stearns man up until the beginning of this year. I know some people soured on him after last year. I didn't mind the bullpen moves he made in the second half at the trade deadline. I thought they were fantastic. They didn't pan out, but they were amazing pitchers. We were bringing, the worst thing was Huascar Brazoban, and he kind of panned out the most in terms of overall success. He's obviously been up and down, but the rest of them were pretty awful. And that's not Stearns' fault, but he brought in, those are high quality. Helsley, they were high quality guys that he brought in. Helsley was a closer. He was one of the best closers in baseball. But yeah, he was just awful for the Mets. But yeah, the way that Stearns is approaching this, a lot of Mets fans don't like it. Again, I've talked to someone down here who's kind of intimated to me, or at least kind of discussed with me Stearns, and I think his intimation is that maybe the Mets should fire him. He said someone's got to be the fall guy. I'm not, I'm in that boat now, I guess. I don't know. Maybe Stearns just can't work in big markets. But yeah, on the Yankees, your insight's much appreciated. I know Spencer Jones is a very exciting guy. We'll see what happens with him. Yesterday, of course, Max Fried left that game with elbow soreness in his left elbow. 3 innings he lasted before leaving. Yankees losing again. They won the game before, but lost last night 7-0 to the Orioles. Not exactly a fun time to be a Yankees fan either. But at least they're in the mix and not in the cellar. But yeah, we'll see what happens down the rest of the season. We're not in the stretch. We're in the stretch of something else. The NBA playoffs and the NHL playoffs. Last night, Colorado taking the series against the Wild, as expected, I think. 4-1 overall in the series. But yeah, we're bridging the gap with this insight into the New York media and the New York fans, and specifically Mets and Yankees fans, about what they think about how those teams are doing this year, where we're going to go, what's going to happen with them. But yeah, a lot of Mets fans want to see wholesale changes with the roster, want to see Stearns fired. I'm kind of in the class of both that I want to see Mendoza fired. Maybe he's getting better, but I think he was awful last year. We're bridging that gap because we will be doing live podcasts throughout the summer, hopefully. We've got a couple lined up, so hopefully we get at least those, and maybe some more. I'll be doing content one way or another, depending on what happens. But I would much prefer to do live podcasts during the baseball season, owing to the immediate nature of getting there on games every day. You've got series that you've got basically 5 days of baseball a week for every team, maybe more, maybe 6. So it'd be nice to get some live podcasts going. We'll see. We got a couple. But yeah, stay tuned for those. We're going to continue the coverage of the NBA and NHL playoffs. I would like to get some more NHL playoff coverage. I may have to do some of that myself, but I've really enjoyed the basketball playoffs. They've been fantastic. But stay tuned to With Sports Rob. Check out the live podcast. they'll be at night, I'm assuming, because most people work in some capacity. Everyone works in some capacity or another. But, some people have jobs that are not in the field of sports, so they can't take time during the day. Unless they have an off day or something. If they take a day off, or we do it on the weekend. But we'll see what happens. But we'll have this posted. We'll have this streaming at night, most likely, and then I'll post them on socials over the course of the next days, so you can watch them at your leisure, and hopefully you get a chance to check that out. I'm looking forward to it. I'm ecstatic. I'm very excited. I'm also very nervous. We'll see what happens. You never know. Stay tuned to With Sports Rob all summer for NHL, NBA playoff coverage, and also insight into the MLB, like that which Rob Adams provided. Thanks, Rob. You're welcome anytime.